He may never have read the Constitution, but I have. So let me direct his attention to Article 1, which makes clear that only Congress has the power to declare war. We are the ones tasked with deciding when and how Americans are sent into combat. We are the ones charged with that most solemn duty. Yet Trump is acting as if Article 1 simply doesn't exist, as if obeying the Constitution is optional, as if our founding document is just a yellowing, crumbling piece of paper that he can crumble up and toss into the garbage can at will. This should not, must not be a partisan issue. No matter if you're struggling to pay rent, or if your name is plastered in fake gold on a building on Fifth Avenue, no one can ignore the Constitution, especially if you've sworn an oath to defend it. No matter if you're a Mar-a-Lago worker pulling down double shifts of the President of the United States, no one is above the law. Look, I believe fully that there are certain solemn, urgent times when our military must be called upon to defend us. There are certain moments when the threat in question is significant and imminent, instances when military force is the most effective tool at hand, and that using it is necessary to protect America and her interests. The thing is, from what little information the Trump administration has shared publicly that he hasn't immediately contradicted, and sometimes the same sentence, this was not one of those times. But if the administration thinks that I'm wrong and there was imminent, reasonable, actual threat to America, then guess what? The floor is theirs. Come to the Senate. We're just 20 minutes from the White House. It's not hard to find. It's even faster in your motorcade, Mr. President. It's not hard to find us. We're the building with the big dome on top. We're only a 20-minute walk. Trump knows where the Capitol building is. It's the spot he told the insurrectionists to march towards on January 6th.
Senator Tammy Duckworth just brought the ultimate receipt to a knife fight. We are looking at a historic indictment aimed at a president who is unilaterally throwing American lives into the Middle Eastern furnace. This isn't just a political argument. It is a test of power for a commander-in-chief who is ignoring the legislative branch. And when Duckworth pulls out the U.S. Constitution to challenge executive power, the only thing she leaves behind for the pro-war crowd is dead silence. Stick around until the end of the video, because the moment Duckworth forces the entire Senate to choose between the Constitution and Donald Trump's ego is a true masterclass in how you corner an overreaching administration. Hit subscribe, because when American troops' lives are turned into a political PR tool, you need to see these receipts with your own eyes.
Sit up straight. Every time I was rolled into yet another surgery, I made sure to read the poster I had next to my hospital bed. It was a framed copy of the Soldier's Creed, the words that those lucky enough to wear the Army uniform live by. That same framed copy now hangs by my desk here in DC. And as I glanced at it this morning, I realized that there's perhaps no greater proof that Donald Trump never deigned to serve a day in his life than the mockery he makes of the Soldier's Creed's commitments every single day he has been in office. The creed may be associated with the Army, but the sentiments hold true for all of those who wear the uniform of this great nation. Its 13 lines tells us to be disciplined, physically and mentally tough, trained, proficient, and to look out for those who look out for us, to look out for one another. Donald Trump is supposed to be our service members' commander-in-chief. The very least we should expect of him is to epitomize the standards that we ask our troops to swear by, to live by. The very least we should expect of the commander-in-chief is to be as competent, disciplined, and professional as the men and women whose very lives hinge on his capacity to lead, on that competence and professionalism we expect to see in the White House. The Creed makes clear that our troops will never quit, that they will never leave a fallen comrade behind, yet Cadet Bone Spurs is someone who will always quit. And every hour he orders our service members to remain in unnecessary growing danger, he is proving that Donald Trump does not give a damn about leaving a comrade or so many comrades behind.
Duckworth doesn't rely on gotcha questions. She enters the Soldier's Creed directly into the record as a primary receipt. This is the black and white rule of the military. Never leave a fallen comrade behind. The opposing receipt she holds is the president's record of dodging the draft 5 times. The Trump administration's legal theory, as Duckworth exposes it, is that he can arbitrarily order others to face death, while he himself always finds a way to retreat when faced with danger. This is how you check the uncheckable, by proving that the commander-in-chief is violating the very core standards of the organization he is supposed to lead.
Minimum diplomacy. Once again, the Trump foreign policy doctrine has proven reckless, senseless, and dangerous. A doctrine in which fact and fiction are one and the same, one in which our commander-in-chief seems to come to military decisions by virtue of temper tantrums and announces them via tweet in the middle of the night, and one in which avarice outweighs advice every single time. Look, unlike Trump, I actually know what it's like to leave your blood soaking into the desert sand a half a world away. So I know what it's like. I know what it's like and what is at stake for the troops this administration is sending into harm's way. We must safeguard their valor and their professionalism by doing our jobs. I can tell you this, it's a whole lot easier to cover your eyes and order other Americans to sacrifice their children and sacrifice themselves if you don't have to do any of the sacrificing yourself. It's easier to send other people's children to fight in a war if you know your own children are cozy in a penthouse suite somewhere. It's easier to ignore the everyday realities of war from inside the hallowed halls of the White House, where you've got McDonald's being DoorDash to the Oval Office. But it's nearly impossible. It's nearly impossible if you've been actually outside the wire yourself. So I've come to the floor today to keep true a promise I first made over 2 decades ago. I ran for Congress, not because I wanted to be in Congress, not because I wanted to be a congressman or a senator. I ran for Congress to honor the men and women who carried me out of that bloody war zone. I made a promise that when the drums of war started beating again, I would be in a position to make sure that our elected officials fully consider the true cause of war, not just in terms of money, but in human lives. And
think about that scale. Look at how Duckworth transitions the receipts from the president's incompetence to flesh and blood victims. She places the image of Trump's children safe in expensive penthouses and McDonald's being DoorDashed to the White House right on the scale against the blood of soldiers soaking into the desert sand. This is the textbook definition of a Chickenhawk dynamic. Those who loudly beat the drums of war while ensuring their own bloodline never steps foot on a battlefield. By bringing the mundane, privileged details of the Trump administration into the hallowed halls of the Senate, she strips away the faux tough guy aesthetic. She forces the public to see the grotesque asymmetry of modern warfare, where the ultimate price is paid by working class kids on the orders of a billionaire. The receipt here is a severe violation of moral leadership. If a single man's personal safety and ego are worth an entire conflict in Iran, then what is the value of the 13 American heroes who have fallen in the eyes of this administration?
Our service members enough to prove why war with Iran is worth more children growing up without their mom or dad. They need to make it clear that they've thought this through and well enough that they can actually articulate what an end state with this war of choice in Iran would even look like. Then, when their case has been made, when the debate here in Congress is completed, then the members of this chamber must vote. It's our duty. Yes, it is our burden. It's the least we can do for those who are willing to sacrifice everything to safeguard this democracy. But if the Trump administration refuses to do that, if they refuse to adhere to the Constitution, well, then it begs the question, what are you hiding? What are you hiding, Mr. President? We already know you're incompetent. What else are you hiding? Look, we've now been at this war of choice, of Trump's choice, for a month and a half. Thousands are dead, grieving, wounded, suffering. Only someone as inept and unfit, someone as callous and cruel as Trump would see this as winning. Only a draft-dodging coward would think that this is the right way to engage in a war. Only a man so unqualified to be commander-in-chief would be proud to keep on risking our heroes' lives without even a concept of a plan for how to get them back home without risking more graves at Arlington. We can't let this chaos continue unchecked. As our troops continue to sacrifice whatever is asked of them, we senators need to do the absolute minimum required of us. That's why this week I'm calling up my War Powers resolution demanding that the Trump administration finally end this illegal war and to call for some actual public oversight and accountability on behalf of the American people. It will come to the floor for a vote shortly. So to my Republican colleagues, you have a choice, a simple one really. You can vote with me to end this conflict and show that you actually care about putting America first, like you claim, or you can vote to put Trump's ego first, proving that when push comes to shove, you care more about protecting Trump's thin skin than the Constitution that you swore to defend. At this point,
this is a trap the Republican Party cannot escape. When a president doesn't know his own limits but completely ignores Congress, the mask of democracy disappears. This is why the powerful always fight against transparency. It isn't about protecting national security. It's because sunlight is always the best disinfectant. When Duckworth activates her War Powers resolution, she is re-establishing the rule of law over a unitary executive theory, one that is turning the military into the president's personal shield. By forcing a floor vote, Duckworth is demanding that every single senator goes on the record. History will remember who stood up for the checks and balances designed by the Founding Fathers, and who folded under the pressure of a partisan loyalty test. If Congress fails to step up here, they are essentially handing over a blank check for endless, unjustified conflicts. The principle here is simple. Accountability dies in the shadows of decisions made via midnight tweets. Drop a comment below. Should a president be allowed to unilaterally bypass Article 1 of the Constitution to spark a bloody war? And does Senator Tammy Duckworth's performance here give you confidence in the power of the legislative branch? Let's name the names of those who put their personal egos over the U.S. Constitution.